Hi everyone, welcome back to Pages of the Globe. Today I'm going to be reading to you the poem A Dream Within a Dream by Edgar Allan Poe. So we will be continuing our series of Edgar Allan Poe poems. So far we have read The Raven and Annabel Lee, and this is my third installment of this series. So please comment down below any other poems by Edgar Allan Poe you might want me to read, or maybe even poems that aren't necessarily by him, but you just want me to read and analyze, because that's what I'm really doing in this series. The poems themselves might not be super long, but I analyze them really deeply, and I think that if you are kind of interested in that, then you can definitely go ahead and shoot me a comment and tell me which poems you would like me to read. Alright, so like always, before we start, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the author, Edgar Allan Poe. But I do want to remind you that I am kind of repeating the same thing for all these stories. So if you've already read or watched a couple of my videos where I read a story or a poem by Edgar Allan Poe, and you don't really want to repeat it, you can just skip past it. But this is kind of for everyone who's all my new listeners. I just like to always talk about the author before, and then we can jump straight into the story. So Edgar Allan Poe was born on January 19th, 1809, and died on October 7th, 1849. He was an American writer, poet, editor, and literary critic who is best known for his poetry and short stories, particularly his tales of mystery and the macabre. He is widely recognized as a central figure of Romanticism in the United States and of American literature. He was one of the country's earliest practitioners of the short story and is considered the inventor of the detective fiction genre, as well as a significant contributor to the emerging genre of science fiction. He is the first well-known American writer to earn a living through writing alone, resulting in a financially difficult life and career. Now, I do go more in depth about Edgar Allan Poe in a few of my old videos, perhaps like The Telltale Heart or The Raven, which were kind of my first videos about Edgar Allan Poe. So if you like a little more in-depth information about him, then you can always watch those. But for now, I'm just going to cut it short here so we can jump straight into the poem. But yeah, without further ado, let's get on with the poem. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below which short story you would like to read next. A Dream Within a Dream by Edgar Allan Poe. Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow, you are not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away, in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the yellow sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep. While I weep, O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all we see or seem but a dream within a dream? The end. Alright, so that was the poem A Dream Within a Dream by Edgar Allan Poe. It was published in 1849, and it examines the subtleties of time and perspective. Now, like I was talking about before, Edgar Allan Poe is one of the most popular horror and mystery writers of all time, and his work during the 19th century defined multiple genres. A Dream Within a Dream by Edgar Allan Poe kind of describes how a speaker experiences depths of dispiritedness and despair. As the poem is dissected for evaluating the mood, motivation, and inherent upheavals his life underwent, traumatized by those events, the poet embarks on this dreary, poetic masterpiece. He may not be the initiator of this conception, as many philosophers have puzzled over this notion for centuries. According to philosophers, it is referred to as dream argument or dream hypothesis. According to the poem, this world and all existing life is just an illusion of sorts, and reality doesn't actually exist. This notion was first asserted by Greek philosopher Plato in his treatise Theodicus, as well as Aristotle in his Metaphysics. More so, René Descartes also revitalized this theory in his publication Meditations on First Philosophy. As for the summary of this poem, Edgar Allan Poe is basically implying that time is just slipping away from the grasp of human beings, a la sand on the beach, indicating that our existence is at the end inconsequent, or a mere abstraction. In the first stanza, the narrator kind of demands this farewell kiss on the brow, and although the kiss indicates the parting of ways, it's usually like a melancholic ending in the case of Poe. As luck would have it, the narrator seems to be parting ways with his significant other permanently. While they part their respective ways, the narrator kind of just affirms that her notion was correct all along, and his days with her were just a dream. So the narrator kind of realizes that the fact afterward, as they part their ways, he is in awe as to how time flew with which they spent together. It was a la trance state, a dreamy affair that ended kind of abruptly for the narrator. As a result, he wonders if this time was a measurable quality or just a figment of his imagination. It seems that the narrator has kind of finally come to terms with the hard reality of life and is beginning to sort of learn the ropes. A Dream Within a Dream is a purely melancholic poem. It's about the hope, hopelessness, and helplessness of man in general. As the poet agonizingly just contends that humans have to make these compromises, and the first half of this poem even just deals with the loss of his beloved, specifically Edgar Allan Poe's, and crestfallen with this pain and bleeding profusely, he deems that the time spent with his fiancée was kind of just a fairy tale. The gloomy mood reflects the poet's real life affairs, as his fiancée was actually taken away from him, leaving him to pick up all those pieces. He's struggling with time, loss, and helplessness, and this poet comes to terms with the reality that's knocking on his door. For him, he just feels that he's been betrayed by time, and he's just kind of indifferent now as he recovers from one loss to another, to another, to another. Now, this poem consists of 24 verses divided into 2 stanzas, one of 11 lines and one consisting of 13. In totality, it has 9 couplets and 2 triplets. The initial stanza commences with a triplet followed by couplets, and the rhyme scheme is encapsulated in AAA, BB, CC, DD, EE, FF, GG, HH, II, I keep messing up on this. I've been trying to figure out what the rhyme scheme was. Okay, it's AAA, BB, CC, DD, EE, FF, GG, HHH, II, JJ, KK. And so the entirety of the poem just acts as couplets. So more so twice in 2 stanzas, 3 verses seem to kind of rhyme and give the entire poem some sort of balance. Now, Edgar Allan Poe uses many literary devices and poetic devices like I was talking about in the beginning. And so to begin with, there's this rhetorical exclamation in the very first line, and readers can find the use of enjambment. And in case you don't know what enjambment is, because honestly, when I first heard of this word, I was what does that mean? But it is something that he uses in the following lines after the first line or so. It's just the continuation of a sentence without a pause beyond the sentence. So, for example, if you're saying it is a beautiful evening, and then next line you say calm and free, instead of it's not the end of a line, right? Because you're describing the evening as calm and free, but it's not together. There's a comma in between or some sort of semicolon or whatever. Anyway, continuing on to themes, this poem is far different from all the poems of its time. Poe tries to explore the themes of life and dream in a very different kind of way. He takes the readers to first the land of dreams and fantasies and hopes, and then no matter how sad people are in their lives, they know that there's one place where they can keep their hopes high, which is dreamland. And then he kind of looks at if we want to look at a couple of the important themes in this poem, first of all, we have death. That's one of the incredibly important themes. It's metaphorically described as the waves that crash against the sands of shore. And just as like a wave has its ups and downs, so does life of an individual. The wave is nothing but time, which is pitiless or harsh, and time just keeps running at its pace without waiting for anyone. No matter which phase of our lives we want to hold on to it, whether it's good or bad, we just can't do so because it's not even in the hands of God to stop or pause time. There's also a lot of symbolism in the story. It contains some important symbols. For example, the kiss, like the word kiss, is a symbol of love and affection. The most important story of this piece is probably dream. The poet uses the word in its literal sense as well as in a symbolic manner. According to the speaker, his life seems to be a dream that is part of another dream. So what he thinks of life or how he wishes to leave life is nothing but a vision, his mind's own creation. The word is a symbol of love or the lady whom he may be loved. So the word dream is just symbolic reference to his life, and it also gives hint to the nature of his relationship. Like a dream, their relationship was momentary and ended kind of abruptly. As it was a vision worth living in again, he feels just very lonely after waking up. Now, just to kind of conclude and close this analysis off, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the meaning of all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream, like this, but a dream within a dream, where this is the title, this is like the entire point. So what does this like really mean? Well, it's just associated with the idea of existentialism. To understand the meaning of these lines, readers actually have to feel how a person going through these series of misfortunes feels. Such a speaker is present in this poem. He feels as if what is there in reality is nothing just but a dream. Not only a dream, but it's also a part of another vision. As the pleasant phases of his life just kind of quickly flee away from him, he thinks that all that he loves is just like a dream that's pacing further and further and further away from him. That's why he thinks what he sees is a dream, and those dreams occur within another dream that is compared to his life. Now, that's kind of it for today's analysis, but like I said, this was my third segment in the series of Edgar Allan Poe's poems, so I will be continuing on with this, but if you guys ever want me to like read another poem that you really want, or you really want a poem that is by Edgar Allan Poe, then please comment down below, so that way I can like read the stories or poems that you want me to read, and it's just much better and way nicer. Well, that is it for today. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below which short story you would like to read next.